Yes, that's me. That's myself and my colleague carrying a pole walking on the street of Abuja. You may be wondering how I got here, but stay with me. The story may be long, but I promise you it's worth the wait. So this week I'll be speaking about kindness. It's going to be in two parts. So I have two stories to tell to drive home the point about kindness, as it has been laid in my heart to share with you this week. So today I'll be speaking on the topic I titled Kindness That You Didn't Pray For, Part 1. So the story I have to tell you today, it's one of those God I didn't plan for this but thank you anyway kind of stories. It's a true tale of kindness, calmness, and blessings I didn't see coming. And if you've ever needed a reminder that the world still has good people and that God still shows up through them, today's episode is for you. I'm Chooks, your host, husband, marketer, father to a beautiful damsel, and recently a part-time streetlight destroyer. Stay with me, there is a lesson coming. So I landed in Abuja on Tuesday on a work trip, and because I was going to spend about a week and I had a lot of movements within Abuja to do with respect to the project I had come in for, I beckoned on a friend who happened to just have purchased a car, and my beckoning on him was basically to check on him, and he was like, I just got this car, I would need you to check it out and feel free to use it for the period you're around. And I was like, hold up. And he said, use it for as long as you're around, and I really don't need it now anyway. And I was surprised. At the same time, I was very grateful because that actually was going to ease my entire journey. And you know Abuja, of course, if you're not mobile in Abuja, it's really a lot of work, right? Because you don't have direct vehicles going to places where you want to go. You either take a cab, and I had already calculated in my head how much I was going to spend. Thank God for friends like that, right? And I think one of the things that God has really blessed me with is good friends. I would tell some of these stories about how they've had to step in. But shout out to my guy. He actually told me he didn't want me to mention his name, but shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate. So navigating my way around Abuja wasn't quite difficult. Of course, you're speaking to an A1 geography and map reader. So it wasn't very difficult for me. I had my map and I was able to navigate my way around. And fast forward to Thursday evening, he had reached out that since I was still in town on Friday morning, before I probably get busy, if I could assist him pick up the papers of the car, because like I said, he just purchased the car, papers of the car from the VIO office at Mabushi. And I was like, why not? Of course, that's something very little to do for someone who has released his just purchased car to you to drive around town with. And I got up that morning, and something happened that morning. Because of how busy I had been from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's more of I wake up to calls, or I wake up and I'm jumping out of my hotel room to go to the venue where we're putting together what we need to for the event I had come in for. And it's been a thing of I'm in the bathroom, I just mutter a word of prayer, nothing too fancy. And for some reason, when I woke up that Friday morning, I heard it very loud and clear in my spirit, and I kid you not. And it was the voice came saying, when was the last time you really settled down to pray? And it dawned on me, I thought about it, that I really haven't since I got here. And that morning I stopped everything I was doing. I think I played a message, and after that I prayed, committed the day into God's hands, and I stepped out. So I journeyed down to Mabushi and went to the VIO office, parked the car, picked up the papers. And just as I was about reversing out of where I had parked, I don't know, for some reason how I missed it. I didn't see the street light pole that was behind me. It was a solar street light, and boom, I hit it. It wasn't a violent hit, or of course I was reversing. It wasn't like I was reversing with speed. It was a tap, but unfortunately the street light had gotten to a point where it was begging to be taken down because it had rusted, and that was it. The pole bent. I'm going to put the picture up so you see it. As soon as that happened, it was as if the world paused, because a lot of things were running through my mind. This is happening just right in front of a government office. I know how it usually is when things like this happen, and of course I was not wrong, at least I thought. So I reparked the car, came down, and the next thing I heard were officers from the VIU office saying, "Oh, impound the vehicle, open the gate, take this vehicle inside, do me a video." Whoa, hold up. I'm not running, I'm still here. In fact, I came down and I was right there at the scene. And while all of this commotion was ongoing, and many persons around had a lot to say about how they want to impound the vehicle, there was this guy that just walked out of the office gate and walked to where everything was happening. His name is Aminu, and Aminu changed the entire atmosphere. I was very, very surprised, because this is an officer. I really don't know what position he holds, but he kind of gave me hope. I wouldn't lie that law enforcement officers can be understanding. And he walked up to the scene and he looked at it and he was like, "Hey guys, hold up, it hasn't gotten to that extent. This can happen to anybody, right?" And I was looking at this guy and I thought that was all. And he had told them, "Oh, no need to impound the vehicle. I'm going to take him to the person in charge of facilities." And this was how he took myself. And I didn't mention one of my colleague was with us, and this was how he took myself and my colleague to meet Engineer Moses, who happened to be in charge. He was also a VIO officer, but I think he was an engineer, maybe in charge of facilities, the vehicles and all. And we got to him and he had narrated, that is Aminu in this case, had narrated what happened to Engineer Moses. And to my greatest surprise, the first thing Engineer Moses asked was, "Is the vehicle okay?" And I said yes. "The accessories of the streetlight still okay?" And I said yes. "So it's just the pole that bends?" I said yes. And he said, "Okay, I'm going to direct you to the office in charge, and whatever it is they tell you to do, you can go ahead and do it. Or alternatively, if you can get a welder to come fix it up." And I was like, "Oh, why not?" He said, "Are you sure you're up for it?" I said, "Of course, why not?" Since that is an option, because I had imagined going back into that office where I had people already shouting, "Impound the vehicle" and all that. And Engineer Moses was like, "Okay, that's good. Repark your car, bring your car around where I am, hand over the keys while you go sort out the pole." And I was like, "Okay, let me see what's going on here." So fast forward, we myself, Aminu, and one of Engineer Moses' boys, who he had sent to go assess the situation, came down to where the incident had happened. And after he had assessed it, he went back to Engineer Moses to say, "Oh, that it's either we call in a welder to come down there and fix it, or we lose it out and take it to a welder workshop." So they had said that the closest welder was at the Mabushi Junction. I was like, okay. Top of my head, I was thinking, okay, if we should lose in this pole, how do we get it there? And to my greatest surprise, Engineer Moses suggested by himself that the officers make use of one of their truck to move the pole down to the welder workshop. And I was still very shocked. I was like, okay, maybe worst case they would say I should buy fuel into the vehicle. And to my greatest surprise, they loosened this pole, loaded it on the truck. Myself and my colleague, we entered the truck, and they moved it down to the welder's workshop. And right there, when we got to the welder's workshop, the VIO officials that took us, they was like, "Oh, we should not say anything because they don't want them to cheat us." And I was like, okay, what's going on here? And that was how they negotiated with the welder. Something in my head that, oh, I'm going to spend like 10k thereabouts. These guys negotiated this thing down to 2,500 naira. I kid you not. And I was still looking at everything play out. They offloaded the pole from the vehicle, helped me take it down into the welder's workshop, and the welder started working on it. So they came to meet me like, oh, they need to go out, right? And they've been called for an operation. And I think they needed to go clear off some things off the way. And they were like, how are you guys going to do it? And the place where we got a welder workshop wasn't that far from the office, and I was like, oh, no, you guys have really tried for us already, don't worry. Myself and my colleague were going to stroll down with the pole back to where it was taken off from, and yeah, that was it. The pole was fixed, and my colleague and I carried it end to end, and we journeyed down where it was loosened from. And on getting there, it happened that they were not back from the operation, so the person that was supposed to mount it, which was the guy who loosened it, was not around. We had to wait, and in the process of waiting, Aminu met us and he said, oh, you guys are still here, okay. And Aminu started making calls to hurry them back, and I was like, what? Top of my head, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe after everything he's going to tell me what all of this would cost me, right? I was still looking at it with the Lagos mentality. Apologies to Lagos, but I've experienced so much in Lagos that I lost so much faith in law enforcement. But this just changed my entire perspective. So fast forward, they came back. Engineer Moses came back with them because he had gone out on the operation with them. And he was like, oh, okay, you've fixed it, looks good. And he instructed his boy to mount it. We assisted him, we mounted it, and that was it. As soon as we were done, we came back, and Engineer Moses was like, you can give their keys back to them, and you guys be careful, stay safe. And Aminu was like, oh, everything is fine now, so I'm going. And Aminu just walked out, just like that, didn't ask for anything. Of course, my conscience wasn't going to let me, because I had gotten Aminu's number earlier. I had to, do a recharge card. That was the least I could do, at least for making calls on my behalf. And then, I appreciated the guys that assisted in losing and mounting it back. And that was it. That was how we left that place. So in all of this, that day reminded me that not every blessing comes with fireworks. Some show up wearing just a shirt and a trouser. Some just stand beside you quietly helping you breathe. And often, those are the ones you needed the most. So maybe this week, you won't get the miracle you're praying for, but look out for the kindness you didn't pray for, because that too is a proof of a God who sees ahead. So until next time, be bold, be true, because your life is the ultimate brand. God bless you.